My name is CORINNA MANTLO, also known as Ms. 1932. I'm a stage 2 ductal carcinoma breast cancer survivor. Um, I run my own business, Via Mechanica, making custom motorcycle seats, hot rod interiors, founder of the Motorcycle Film Festival. I've run a lot of events in the motorcycle community over the years, and I'm a recently retired daredevil with the Wall of Death. I was diagnosed almost just over a year ago in July of 2024. But I had felt a lump about half the size of my small boob for over a year before that. And I was currently traveling as a daredevil with the Wall of Death, and I made the decision to deal with it at the end of the season. So when I was diagnosed in July 24 with definitely being 99% positive for breast cancer by just the preliminary mammogram, MRIs. I was immediately sent to biopsies on both breasts, 3 on the right, which is where we knew the problem was, and 2 on the left. I was then sent to the cancer surgeon, which I was surprised. You talk to a surgeon before a medical oncologist. Someone who's never had surgery, someone who's only been to the doctor a few times in my life. That was a lot. But our cancer surgeon was fantastic. They explained that's generally the first step. I would absolutely need surgery. I did everything to avoid it, and I really didn't know if I was going to go through treatment at all. But I did decide to do the first surgery. Um, and after the surgery, they test what the biopsy they've taken from that, and they found more. And they did a second surgery 2 weeks later, the same thing, which was a lot to find out you're every Wednesday you need to go back in 2 weeks later. But in my case, after that third one, they were confident that they had gotten everything. And so in my case, they didn't have me do chemotherapy. I went immediately to radiation 5 days a week for 6 weeks or something, which was a lot. And after that, that was the end of my medical treatment. That took me from about August all the way through, I think I finished in January of 2025. I will very openly share my story with tamoxifen. It's given to many people. Unfortunately, in my case, I also am reluctant to take medication, but I did agree to try it because it was explained to me that I could go off it at any time. Unfortunately, in my case, on day 2, I was weeping my eyes out. I was a complete basket case, and having gone through all of those months of treatment, I wasn't sure whether that was brain fog and being overwhelmed and pain and everything I've been through, but I'm also a really tough girl. I don't do emotions a lot. I don't cry. My boyfriend cries more than me. Like, I'm not that person. And by day 2, we were tracking my symptoms, and I was shaking my knee and twitching my head and pulling at my hair. And I was an absolute depressive basket case. By day 10, I was suicidal and having thoughts of pushing myself in front of a bus. So the day after, we took me off of tamoxifen because it was clear that that was a medication reaction. And so I've now made the choice in my own personal situation to not go that course. And I found that sharing it allowed a lot of other people to reach out to me and ask how I was doing on particular steps of it. It's important to speak to groups and survivors and people going through it and find the camaraderie of women's experiences to know that you're not crazy. It might be the medication, and inform your decisions from there. So I think if I had not had the support system of my family, who I was very tight-lipped with my experience with, because it's how I am, but also being able to speak about it publicly, I don't know if in my case I would have known what was me and what was the experience I was living through. So sometimes, and doctors sometimes like to sugarcoat things. So we're all tough ladies. We're all, everyone in this campaign is over 40. We've lived through a lot of shit. We can take it. And it's better to know before you go through something the worst that it could be so you're prepared to handle it. I was blown away Even from the day one of treatment, from surgery to radiation to follow-ups to testing medication to going off of medication, the biggest thing that I was not prepared for was the quiet symptoms. I've heard things like brain fog, I've heard fatigue, I was prepared for a lot. I was also told that women do this every day, you go in for radiation for 5 minutes and you're right back at, after your lunch break to work. Was not my experience. I have yet to meet a woman who that was their experience. I met lots of women who did do that, but I don't think any of us did that by choice or could handle it. This is big. This takes over your life entirely to an extent I am still floored by, my family is still floored by. Over a year later, I'm just getting back to the point where I can have this conversation coherently. A month before I was diagnosed, I was on stage riding the wall of death under 3 Gs of force, being on stage, talking to people, being on all the time, lifting 30,000 pounds for my insane job, talking on the phone, multitasking, doing a million things, running a business. And during and after my experience with breast cancer, I could not remember my own name. I couldn't write text messages to friends and family. I just couldn't do any of it. It wasn't there, is the best way of explaining it. And I think anything as huge of this, we tend to minimize how long the recovery from it is. There's no ache and pain. I'm still in physical therapy, which is something I also advocated for scar tissue and numbness and swelling and on and on and on, and that's helped me immensely. So I suppose I'm still in treatment, but I'm discovering it takes quite a long time to truly recover. And I'm trying to give myself that, even though I am broken behind and everything else. I have no choice. I'm trying to give that to myself, and I'm trying very hard to make sure that I give that to everyone else that I know is going through cancer and everything. We don't bounce back from things as quickly as I think I thought. The choice is, do you stick it out? Do you tough it out? Or do you take your chances with, the cancer coming back? And that's real scary too. Any decision, I think any decision anyone makes is the right decision, and talking about all of the options and knowing the options and being able to go to doctors as your own advocate and, dear God, with a friend, whoever it is, a significant other, a family member, a friend. People want to help. Hearing those things with another person so that they can help you take it in after the fact was huge. Listening to other people's stories was huge, and that really helped me inform my decision, and ultimately for me, try more than I thought I was going to be comfortable with. And 9 out of those 10 things, in retrospect, I was so reluctant for surgery. I was so reluctant for radiation. I was so reluctant for chemotherapy that I'm very lucky I didn't have to have. But I am glad that I thought it through, talked to people, and did choose to try and make decisions every day whether to stick with those things. The low point was not why me, not woe is me. It was, I don't know if I'm the person who wants to do this. And that was a very calm, very conscious, I just don't know if this is for me. I can't change that I have it, but I don't know if this is for me. And the decision of whether or not to just live my life and see what happened, or go into, my first step was going to be surgery. To do that might seem small to people who aren't terrified of medical stuff, but for me, I that was the hardest. Getting me to go into the room to get changed for surgery was the hardest thing that and the most uncomfortable thing that I have ever done. It was the true low point that I couldn't even see coming when I thought I was at my lowest on the first day was after the 3rd surgery I was when I had done it. I'd done everything they told me, and I did it, and I did it, and I did it, and in between those surgeries, you're not back at work. I work with my hands. I had a dead arm. It was swollen to about here. They only took 1 lymph node, but I was just swollen to here. My hand and arm was numb. There was no lifting it. There was no walking the dog. There was no nothing. There was no getting out of bed. Um, I don't think I touched more than 1 painkiller they gave me, but I was not able to get out of bed. Um, and to be told at that moment, when you've been doing this for almost 6 weeks now, that if it comes back again, if when you hear the results in a day or 2, if it's still there, well, you gotta do a mastectomy anyway. That was when you start wondering, "What am I doing? And is this worth it? This is not a way to live." I think the reality of this, of making me a different person, absolutely is that it made me slow the fuck down because there was no option of otherwise. It was not a choice. I didn't become a slower or less multitasking person or realize what was really important. It's not that. It's just I don't function at the same level as I did before. And that can be not okay or okay. It doesn't matter. It just is what it is. I have to remind people quite often that I can't talk that fast. I can't move that fast. My brain doesn't reshuffle. It doesn't readjust as quick as it did. I just can't. Things take me longer, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's lingering brain fog. I don't know if that's trauma response. I have no idea. If I saw a therapist, maybe they could walk me through what I'm going through. I don't know. All I know is I can't in the same way that I did. And that is really hard for me. I haven't ridden a motorcycle in a really long time. That's my life. It's partly because of pain, but it's mostly because I'm not there mentally. I can't confidently say that I am safe to ride a motorcycle. I've been riding a motorcycle for 25 years. I've like my whole life is being a leader in the motorcycle community. I just left a job where I'm riding, an electric bicycle and a go-kart sideways on a 90-degree wall under 3 G's of force with, waving to the crowd and telling little girls that they can do anything in the world they want to do, and even this dumb thing. And I have trouble getting through a conversation over a cup of coffee. That is the most epic change to my life and my personality and the lives and personalities of every woman I know and every woman that I've watched go through cancer. I don't know how any of us have made that adjustment. We still do all the things. We still get the kids up in the morning and go to the job or don't go to the job and figure out how to, live on a boat with no running water, which I do because it's cheaper for me, and make these life choice. You do what we have to do to get through our days. Let me give 2 pieces of advice because the right answer to giving 1 piece of advice is go to the doctor and get checked for just in general. You can go to the doctor before you're 38 years old. I know this. Um, and dear God, get on Medicaid, do whatever you need to do to get medical, to have medical support in place if and when you need it. Um, the second piece of advice, which I think is just as important, is prepare yourself that this is not going to be quick. It is not going to be easy. And don't hide from it. Talk to everyone. Talk to everyone Be public, whatever that means to you, with your close circle of friends and family or on the internet. Whatever it means, share your story in a way that you can, because the more you know will save your sanity. I can't imagine going through this alone, and I can't imagine how much lower the lows might have been if I hadn't had a few people to reach out to, or a bit more really neutral information about it in my head. When I got approached for this campaign and I saw the title "Fight Like Hell," uh, it totally caught me because, having spent the last years with the Wall of Death as a professional daredevil, the sign on our wall says, "Hell on Wheels." And there's one of my favorite photographs that was ever taken of me is sitting on the steps, tired as hell, in between shows, just scraggly and sweaty, and just having accomplished so much and about to do it again. And I'm just resting on a sign that says "Hell on Wheels." And I was so proud of myself. And it's this thing I've accomplished that I fought for so long. And then I am no longer doing it because I had to walk away because of a breast cancer diagnosis and the last year. And then an email pops up that the campaign for this is "Fight Like Hell," and I don't know why the two things just uh really made me take pause and realize how much I've lost and how much I've done in fighting cancer, which I have a hard time with journey and fighting and all those words and things, but and I didn't feel like I fought like hell. I felt like I avoided fighting like hell for my cancer situation. I ignored it. I put it off. I didn't want to do treatment. I didn't want to do those things. I seriously considered not doing them. And in the end, you're fucking fighting like hell anyway. Whatever you choose to do, if you decide to do no treatment and move on and live the rest of your short or long life with a positive cancer diagnosis you do not want to have treated medically and surgically, you're still fighting like hell. You fight like hell for anything you do in your life, and this is no different. So you have no choice. Fight like hell. Fight like hell.